So here I am inside a WPF application, design surface, editor window, toolbox. So I can drag things from the toolbox onto my editor window. Lovely, that's a button. It's a button, yeah. Or I could drag a label or an image or something. We see things show up in the XAML window. Lovely. I can also drag from the toolbox onto the XAML window, which some people don't realize. Or I can even, with the cursor set here in XAML window, I can double click and it adds a calendar where my cursor was. But that's all WPF. Let's quickly switch to a MAUI app, default MAUI app. As you get from File New, here we have some content in the main page. But obviously we don't have a designer. We still have a toolbox though, and I can still drag things from there onto here. And if I want to put something in my data template, move the cursor, and I can add a label, for example. Double clicked it and it appeared, but it's all very simple. What if I wanted to do something a bit faster, a bit cleverer, and with a bit more content? So let's just lose all these for now, and I'll switch over to the, not the toolbox, but the Pro XAML Toolbox. And now let's add my list view, and in my list view I want a label. That's what we had before, wasn't it? Notice I didn't have to move the cursor and it's put the label inside the data template. Let me just save so it reformats it. And we can see we also have pull to refresh enabled. We've got a placeholder for the item source. We've got a placeholder for a command. We've also added a semantic property here. What if we didn't want that for our label? We'll just come over here and uncheck that. Maybe we want a name instead. Double click label, or I could drag the label on. It gives it a random name because we've asked it to give it a random name. It's complaining because I've got multiple labels inside my data template. Maybe I didn't want that. Let's have a collection view, and within our data template we're going to add a grid. See, there it is with some row definitions and column definitions, and now I can add all the labels I want, and I don't get the squiggles because it's not invalid anymore. But wait, rather than just see the theory and random arbitrary controls dropped on a page, this is the Monkey Finder app you create in the .NET MAUI workshop. What I've done is I'm in the main page. I've just disabled the refresh view and the activity indicator that are included as part of that, and let's recreate them. So loads and loads of code here. Loads. Which you don't want to have to write by hand. What we need is a refresh view with a collection view in it. That collection view, what does that hold? A grid, and within that item template there's an image, and what do we have? We have a vertical stack layout containing a couple of labels, 2 labels. Let's just save that to get the formatting again. And we've got a lot of code generated very quickly. It's not perfect. We need to go and make a few changes. So our refresh command isn't called refresh command, it's called get monkeys command. The item source is monkeys. Yeah. We don't need a selection change command. We don't want to select anything. That's fine. In our data template, or we probably want to give this a data type, so it's an X data type, which is going to be monkey. Now we don't need any rows, so we can get rid of our rows. We want our first column to be as wide as it needs to be because we're going to put an image in it. We're going to bind our path, so I'll say a binding to the image. Let's give it a height of 160 and a width of 160. A vertical static layout is going to go in the column 1. We don't need these semantic headings, but we can leave those for now, but we do need to set the text. We're going to bind to the name, and we are going to bind to the location. And that's pretty much everything. If I run app launches, we get nothing to see here message from our empty template by default. If we get the data, Click Get Monkeys. And we see we have our monkey images, we have the text. Formatting is not final, but obviously now we're very quickly in a position where we can make those little tweaks we need to get exactly what we want. We wrote much less code using the XAML Toolbox than we would have done if we'd done everything by hand. So this is, well, that was the XAML Toolbox. Here you can see, so we've got some options. We can prefer commands over events depending on what you want. You can include the accessibility and the semantic info if you want. You can give things a name if you want, but it's all very quickly easy to change. Just click the checkbox, and we've got all the default controls for .NET MAUI available right now. This is a new experimental preview Visual Studio extension I've created. You can get it from the Visual Studio Marketplace. I'd love your feedback, and you can give me your feedback on GitHub at XAML Toolbox. I'd love to know what you think. Thanks.